Three, two, one.
You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. We are the Real Pineapple. This is Hunter, and I'm here with the pride of Idaho, Scott. Scott, how you doing?
Sorry.
Hey, we don't own that music. Don't do that.
Your intros just get me pumped up.
Thanks, man. And I'm here with the pride of Ireland, my favorite Irish bro. Colin, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Top of the morning to you.
Thanks, man. Well,
so authentic.
So normally I like to try and build some suspense for what I thought for a movie. I'm just going to jump in. I didn't like this at all. We were talking about the Cloverfield paradox, which is... So, I think it was only me, I can't remember, Scott, if you were on the review or not, but...
Yeah, you did Cloverfield.
Yeah, 10 Cloverfield Lane. Yeah. And I love 99% of that movie. It's only until the last 5 minutes where I went, God damn it, you Tennessee tightened it. You were right on the 1 yard line, and you were almost at a fan-fucking-tastic, and you just tripped up in the last
But overall, it was a solid movie.
Oh, I think it's one of my favorite sci-fi movies until the last 5 minutes, and then I just get really depressed.
John Goodman is a beast in that one.
Dude, he is no joke, man. It's really this is totally random, but he had that show, I can't remember what it's called, like Alpha House on Amazon, and I remember Colin saying, I like John Goodman, I just don't want to see John Goodman starring in anything.
Yeah, he's good when he just like pops out of nowhere and he's like a drug dealer, or he's like the liaison guy, or just be chilling.
Yeah.
Remember when he was on no, well, now I'm gonna forget it.
I totally remember that.
Do you remember that? Colin, do you remember?
Oh, I remember.
Nice. I'm a member in about 30 seconds. Alright, go ahead.
Tight.
But
oh, brother, where art thou?
There you go. Wow, not even 30 seconds. Damn. Proud of you.
Anyways, yeah, sorry.
No, you're all good. And then I think about that Family Guy when he goes, when I'm done eating, you can have the rest. There's never any left. Anyways, but very random Family Guy reference. I apologize. But that feeling I had at the end of the last Cloverfield, take that feeling and basically stretch it all the way for the whole hour and 44 minutes. Scott, you want to kind of tell us what this is about?
Yeah, I mean, they rushed through the beginning plot so quickly that it's kind of hard to recall how they got where they got. Basically, there is like it's real original. There's no more fossil fuels or anything like that. So they're trying to kill, because no one's ever done that before.
Never.
It follows this crew on one of the space stations, essentially. And they're like real important for some reason, because they're gonna, be able to provide energy for the world, and doesn't go right. Shocker. Yeah, and it's basically them figuring out what happened, where they are, who to trust, who not to trust. Your kind of basic space thriller, if you will. Base sci-fi kind of space thriller.
Colin, I know you saw 10 Cloverfield, right? 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Oh yeah, I love that movie. Yeah, I've seen that one a few times.
And I remember we watched the original Cloverfield at your house, because I had never seen it, and I went, oh wow, that was actually a fun monster movie. And I don't know, man, was there a script for this? It really felt like, I mean, this wasn't at... Ooh, actually, I don't know. Did I hate this more than the Snowman? Ooh, I might have to come back to that. But anyways, sorry, excuse my inner dialogue. But it felt like they didn't they just didn't have a script for this. It really felt like they were making it up as they went along, and they kind of just went, well, it's because of this, because sci-fi and fuck you. That's really what it felt like they were continuously telling me. Or am I completely off base? I mean, please tell me if I'm
So, look, I think the way this is all executed is terrible. I'm not going to deny that. I like the concept of what they're trying to do, and I'm actually even, I would go as far to say that I would be interested in like reading the like original script that this was supposed to be, that was called God Particle.
Yeah.
Which had nothing to do with the Cloverfield like universe at all. So they took that and they incorporated this. I think a lot of this stuff is interesting, like the idea of doing like a God particle in general is really fascinating to me, like using a particle accelerator and like ripping a hole in the space-time continuum. At least I'm a nerd about real stuff and not fake people that fly around. Come on.
What? How dare you? Iron Man is real, you fucker.
No, but seriously, that stuff at least interests me. So like the idea of this movie, like at least excited me when I started watching it, because I kind of was like, oh, let's see what this is all about. Obviously, like I was like, okay, well they're gonna probably rip a hole in space, and there's going to be parallel universes involved, like hence the name Paradox. Like, I was down for all that. The execution of all that, I think, is terrible. Like, they try and make this into a horror movie. They do like absolutely no explanation of what any of this is, so you're basically just like figure it out on your own. I even went as far to like go on some like Reddit forums to see what people were saying about it, and there was like interesting fan theories of people that like took the plot seriously, and like that was like interesting to read for like a little bit. But when you boil it down, like the way this plot plays out is terrible. Like a woman shows up inside the wall of the ship. It's just like a guy's head explodes in worms. It's just a bunch of like shock value horror level stuff that adds up to nothing substance wise. So I was pretty pissed off.
So and that's fair. And honestly, I'm coming across bad on this, but I agree with you 100%. I thought the concept, I went, oh, interesting, okay, a little. I always go through these modes every now and then where I rewatch the Twilight Zone, and I'm rewatching the Twilight Zone right now. Me and Scott, we've nerded out about it on the podcast too. That's one of my favorite shows ever. I think it's just brilliant sci-fi, some of those episodes, and this reminded me of a really bad Twilight Zone episode where I go, oh, they'll probably get it next week or whatever. It is frustrating, Colin, because you're right. The concept is really interesting and could have really gone to some interesting places. But you're right, the execution just wasn't.
What's the point of the connection to Cloverfield? Like, let's
this is so bad.
Just get rid of that association and make your own movie, because I feel like even the cast that they had here was decent. Like, I don't think there was necessarily bad acting, but like remove that association so that you can feel free to do whatever you want. Because at the very end of the movie, they show you a little clip, kind of like they always do at the end of these Cloverfield movies, and it's just like completely unnecessary to the entire plot. That, like, not completely unnecessary because they tie it together, but like there's no need. They should have just been able to run wild, kind of like you were saying, Colin. Like, use what they had and just run with that instead of like feeling like they had to be associated with this series.
Yeah, and I think there's a good movie in here somewhere, like at the very, very base level. Like, I like these types of movies usually in general, like these weird trippy space movies. Like Hunter, you said you've been a big fan of Moon, like that movie where you have some crazy shit going on in space. And then there's movies like what was the one with Cillian Murphy, like Firefly or something, like, no, not Fire.
It's
on the tip of my tongue.
I know what you're talking about too.
There's something to do with sun. I could probably look at IMDb, but I'll just let anyone listening just start yelling into their headphones because they know the answer. But there's movies that could be done, but there hasn't been quite this same plot where you have this rip in the space time, and then you got parallel universes where all of a sudden you're in a planet that the same space station has crashed. Like a lot of that.
Sunshine.
Sunshine, thank you. Yeah,
welcome. There you go.
I like that movie. I think there's ways this movie could have been good that I would have been interested. But the fact that they used it as like a vehicle to make it that monsters fell on Earth, and that's their big explanation of like how Cloverfield happened to begin with, was so cheap and like stupid.
Yeah.
And man.
And even to me, I would argue that I also enjoy those kind of space movies that kind of turn horror suspense. I enjoy that, but I feel like a lot of elements of this movie, even separate from Cloverfield, were something that I've seen before, and like
this movie's riddled with cliches.
Right, like there's a traitor. There's definitely like a foreign. Like you said, somebody's head explodes with like something gross that no one can explain. They have cool gadgets. Like at one point, I'm looking up his name right now, but one of the characters is like working on something. Mundy is his name. Is the character's name? He like reaches his hand like into the wall basically to like and. I guess this is a pretty big spoiler.
Yeah,
he
we're full spoilers.
Yeah, he loses his arm just like into the wall, and it shows up somewhere else. And I feel like that could have been done better, or not done at all. And like that would have wouldn't have cheapened this movie, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I don't know, like the acting to me seemed fine, like that wasn't the issue here. It's just I had seen everything before. That there was going to be a big space explosion, like obviously traitor. There's everything that you would expect to happen is probably going to happen, and they pepper it with this plot on Earth too that I feel like is. They try to make an emotional connection with it, and I feel like that kind of falls flat. It's very scattered to me, and doesn't really feel like they have a home for it or like a pulse of this movie as it goes on. And honestly, I blinked my eyes and they're already in the space station, and they were like dealing with whatever they found. I would have liked a little more backstory maybe, or a little more character development at least.
Speaking of the space station, can we talk about how they clearly blew their budget on the outside of the space station? Because they show it and it looks super massive and everything, and then the rest of the movie takes place in like a hallway in like one other in like one other part of the spaceship. I went, all right, budgetary constraints. I'm like, fine, whatever. But it is a bit distracting. One thing I will say is I got a real Alien Covenant vibe after I was done watching this, where I just kind of sat there and went, if I'd paid for this, I probably would be furious right now. And if someone were to tell me this was good, I'd get upset and tell them why they're wrong. Like, it was just the more I thought about it, to be honest, I saw Game Night last Friday. I saw Cloverfield Paradox Sunday night, and I can remember way more about Game Night than I can about Cloverfield. And if you've listened to us for a while, we all enjoyed 10 Cloverfield Lane quite a bit, and I really enjoyed the hell out of the first one. So this was just so disappointing for me, sitting there going, there's, like Colin put it perfectly, there's a good movie here somewhere, and all I was sitting there thinking is it felt like J.J. Abrams was buckled down. He's like, all right, I'll write, produce, direct, this new Cloverfield movie. And then Disney called and was like, hey, you want to direct episode 9? He was like, well, what am I going to pick? Fucking Cloverfield or Star Wars? So he pieced out, stayed on as a producer, and then they had to scramble to fill in the blank. Because that's really what it felt like. Because you're right, Scott. It's just so disjointed. were there any crew members we liked, or?
Yeah, I actually did like the Irish dude who lost his arm. I thought he was at least like pretty charismatic to the point where I liked him. And then the dude David Oyelowo, I think he's actually a really good actor. And playing the American, I thought he was all right. Like you know, Scott, you mentioned like you didn't think like the acting was really the problem. I didn't think that either. I thought everything else was just so horrible.
Yeah, no, I don't necessarily think that Mundy's character was like bad. It's just that instance where he's sticking his hand through the wall, and like them explaining is like, well, this is what parallel universes is.
Yeah,
so, like,
and that's the scene. That's not so much as it is like the actor. Like what is he supposed to do with a scene where he's like losing his arm and it's crawling around on the ground?
right. And like I don't know if you could tell, but if you kind of paid a little bit of attention of where his arm was moving around, it looked pretty fake. Of not like on the ground, but like when he had his arm in the wall and it was like kind of moving around.
Yeah,
like that, you could kind of tell that it was. I mean, obviously fake, but like
you lie.
It was like the green screen kind of effect you could see.
And I'll also say like the one plot line and the thing that I did end up liking about the movie, which is like the only thing I really liked, where I was like at one point near the end I was actually kind of like riveted. I was like, this is a good storyline. I wish it was in a better movie. But it's with the character Hamilton, who's dealing with the fact that, you know, she's in a parallel universe where her kids still exist.
Yeah.
But in order to go live that life, she has to go down and kill her other self, or like she can go back and actually go back home and save her own planet. Like that dilemma, I was like, okay, that now we at least have substance. That's a good plot point, you know. And I thought she was good dealing with like, you know, like what decision do you make there? That's like a horrible position to be placed in. And I thought she did a good job dealing with the one plot point that I thought was good.
I'd piggyback on that, and I feel like I wish they would have gone kind of more in depth with the alternate universe that they stumbled upon. All they just kind of said is they pick up radio signals that there's war, basically. Mm-hmm. And I think that would have been kind of cool to get more in depth. But I like that angle that they took of there being like that alternate universe where that's directly related to one of these characters that puts her in an emotional bind. And that's really the only time that I felt emotionally attached to any of those people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what about you, Hunter?
Yeah, so you know what, Colin, and God, you're so smart. You're right. That is the one plot line I went, okay, I'm actually feeling some emotion here. And the lady they find in the wall, something that I thought was actually clever that she did, which was just such a bitch thing to do. Jensen, she shows her like this video that she has of like her husband and her kids and her like playing together. I was like, God, that's a bitch thing to do. And and that last kind of fight scene between two of them, I thought was actually, you know, cat fight. But I thought that. And he ripped each other's clothes. It's awesome. But
A+, Hunter.
Yeah, exactly. More like C+, am I right? But anyway.
Oh, double D+.
Nothing but the smartest humor on this podcast. But I thought that was actually really well done as far as building tension. And when Jensen starts going around and just offing people, it is pretty damn okay. She's not fucking around. And you get her point of view because you don't cross the streams, don't fuck the space time continuum. Like she's saying fuck all of you, you fucked up. Sorry. So it's hard to kind of be but so upset because she's doing what she thinks is gonna not fuck up time. But I was irritated with this movie for most of it, and then that ending came and I went, wow, you just dropped it a grade. I actually like 10 Cloverfield Lane more because of the ending, the way this movie ends, where I just went, oh, fuck you kindly. It really left a bad taste in my mouth. And the more I thought about the ending, the more I went, I really am liking this less and less. I'm sure worse things are going to come out this year because Red Sparrow comes out soon, and I feel pretty, but this might end up on my worst of. The more I think about it, the more upset I'm actually kind of getting thinking about it. Scott, kind of your thoughts on the ending and everything.
Yeah, I think it was cheap and just a real quick throwback to Cloverfield that has really nothing to do with any of what had gone on there. And it leading to another movie that I don't want to see. That's what a cliffhanger should be at the end, to be like, oh, you know what? I want to stick around to see how this plays out. And I don't want to. I want to see what happens after the chick leaves the cellar in 10 Cloverfield Lane. You know what I mean? I want to see that continued rather than some half-assed space exploration time travel movie. The concepts were cool, and I like usually what these films do, but it was just, I didn't get mad for sure. It didn't make me angry, but it was a snoozer for sure. And just watching it laying in bed, it was hard not to fall asleep. So I think that's kind of speaks volumes about it more than anything else. What about you, Colin?
Yeah, just like I said before, the ending is basically the only point where it finally ties it into why this is Cloverfield. And it's just, cheap is the best word to put it. It's just cheap. It's, they slap Cloverfield, the name Cloverfield on it, and they feel like they're going to, draw a bigger audience. It's probably why Netflix bought it. And I have to say, to their credit, they screened this in around the United States or wherever they screened it, and it was getting horrible reviews. They basically figured out no one's going to go see this in theaters, so they were like, Netflix, you want to buy it for $50 million? And Netflix is like, sure, it's got Cloverfield on it, people will watch it. And the budget was 45, so they immediately made it profitable, and they didn't market it at all except for that one time on the Super Bowl. So give it up to big money in Hollywood, and they know how to do it. What a joke.
So, getting them. I'll go first here. The ending, man, it really stuck in my craw. And just the more I thought about it, I went, ooh, that pisses me off. I'm gonna be kind and give this an F, only because that last scene with I'm totally blanking on the character's name, but that her story, her arc at the end, did make me kind of go, okay, maybe there's a little bit here that can be salvaged. But overall, man, Hamilton, pardon me, her arc was handled well towards the end, but it just, that last final ending to connect to Cloverfield, I went, damn it, no. And Colin's right. I think if this was just God particle like it was originally intended, and they didn't have to, shoehorn it into this Cloverfield universe, then the movie would have fared better. So, F for me. Colin, your final thoughts on Great Sir.
Yeah, I just wanted it to be better. I think the whole time I was, trying to make sense of the plot when there was little being given to you. I was really giving the movie the benefit of the doubt because I was such a fan of Cloverfield's, the first two movies, even though the first Cloverfield I feel like is unwatchable now because that camera's so shaky. But so I just wanted it to be better, and it just kept letting me down to the point where a lot of the scenes were so cliche, and they weren't developing this story of this universe that they were in, and you can't even develop the story in one universe, and then you're gonna throw out a parallel one. Come on, what are you doing?
Damn,
fucking hell. And I just the acting's not the problem. It's just shit storytelling. So, I mean, the best I can give it is a D, and that's really only saved by some of the plot lines that I thought could have been part of a much better movie. What you got, Scott?
Yeah, I feel like we're part of the same parallel universe tonight because I also gave it a D because it was it's never something I'm ever gonna have any desire to watch again, nor would I ever recommend it to anybody again. But it did make me mad, so big old fat D for this one.
God, you guys are in sync tonight.
Yeah, I like it. It's like we're like synced up.
But yeah, I mean that's fair. I mean, but this I'll just say real quick, just to kind of wrap up. The reason I would give it an F is because I'm starting to grade things in the sense of if someone says they like this, how much will it upset me that they like. You know what I mean? Like if someone
you would take offense to other people liking this.
Exactly. Like I have this coworker who loves the Transformers movies. I always go, God, you're so fucking dumb that you like those movies. Like, because I was talking about the last night the other day, and just so if someone said, "Oh, I like Cloverfield Paradox," I'd say you're a fucking moron, and would feel not bad at all for calling that person a fucking moron. So yeah, when you're at that level, I think an F is only fair, but bottom at least, But yeah, fair enough with the D. I mean,
and it is Netflix too. It's like
true.
At least it was just some free thing that it's already on the thing I pay for, which is nice. that cuts the blow for sure.
That's a fair point, because if I had paid $10 for this, I would have probably asked for my money back.
If I would have gone to a theater and sat down in a big I would have been like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, that okay. That's a very fair point. I gotta give you guys props on that. Okay, that's fair, but it's not Ridiculous 6, so there's that.
yeah. That's one of the few cases of a go fuck yourself on Netflix.
Yeah, true. And Sandy Wexler, remember that was
it's pretty bad too.
Sandler's the worst. But guys, have you seen Cloverfield Paradox? Apparently they're doing the 4th one. I think it comes out in October. I think I read. So. They're pushing forward with these, so hopefully. Yay! It's got all right. Question: what are you least looking forward to? The next Cloverfield, or the Bumblebee's Transformers spinoff?
Oh, that's not even a hard call. I would way rather see this next Cloverfield, because it could be completely different, because they switch it up every single time. So
that's
at least
point.
Like Transformers, you know what you're getting into.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Not good. It is not good.
Wow, damn, Scott just knocked that out of the park. That's a very fair point. But guys, let us know what you thought of Cloverfield Paradox. I mean, are you excited for Cloverfield 4? Apparently Abrams is back for it, so hopefully it's better. But you can follow us here on SoundCloud. You can follow us on Podbean, iTunes, and Google Music at The Real Pineapple. Like us on Facebook at The Real Pineapple. Follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. You can follow Scott on Twitter at
Nim the First.
And you can follow Colin on Twitter at
The Real O'Neill.
Guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll have a review up for Red Sparrow this weekend, as well as Runaways Season 1. Guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.